guys. Welcome back to another episode of I Am I. My name is Joshua Ansley, and today I want to talk about balance. Whoa! Ugh. Alright. So, balance, right? This can be one of my biggest enemies, one of my most difficult challenges. I used to say that I had balance, but I always got balance by running really fast back and forth on the seesaw as opposed to standing in the middle and getting that balance, right? But see, balance is a really tricky thing. I actually had a friend recently talking about that there's no such thing as balance, that it's an illusion. And I think for me, it comes down to understanding that in this world, again, when we get into this world of duality, right? The idea of when you come to singularity within ourselves, so it comes down to spirit, right? It comes down to the singularity of spirit as opposed to this world of creation, this Maya and this delusional world that we have. When we find that singularity in spirit, there isn't necessarily a need for balance. We become balanced when we get back to that singularity. So, but in a very practical sense, in finding balance in our lives, I used to think that was really boring. I used to think that was really vanilla, right? That wasn't interesting to me. And now I understand it as like one of the most powerful, compelling things to actually be able to have that balance in your life. To be able to, in a way, manage everything, right? When your life has become unmanageable because you're not able to find that balance. And then when you get to that place where you're able to do that, it's pretty amazing. The tricky part is finding what our distractions are. Because when we allow the good things in our lives to become distractions, that's an issue. And that's one of my biggest issues, is allowing things that were once productive, or maybe it was something that once helped me and continue to help me. It's not that it won't help me, but let's say like working out or yoga even, right? It's like doing it to the degree where you're hurting yourself or you're so stressed about getting to yoga class. I always think that's so funny. I'm like that all the time. It's like getting stressed out because I got to get to my yoga class. And like, how does that make sense? How is that bringing any balance into your life, So when I'm using yoga or working out to a degree where it's actually destroying myself and not actually building myself up anymore, then that's a detriment. And if I'm using that to avoid what my real purpose is and the real things that I need to be doing in this life, and then maybe the next step that I need to be taking because I'm still stuck back in that old step, right? So that is where balance comes in for me, so that I can find that if there was something that was beneficial, whether it be, meetings for a recovery program, right? And if you're going there and you've gotten to a place of stability in your life, and now to take the next step in your life, you're still just doing too much of that, and it's not balanced. If you're doing so much service that you're not taking care of yourself, like service is amazing because really, when we start to do service, we start to recognize that it's not just us, right? It's not self-centered, and that, I don't mean selfish, right? Selfish is a different thing. Selfish is give me, give me, give me, give me. Self-centered is just that we are centered around ourselves, right? Our smaller self, with the capital, with the lowercase s, right? So when we get really self-centered, then we have to be careful of that, right? So we do service and we start to see how beautiful it can be, how our worth can be coming from someplace by being of help to other people. But we also have to be careful of codependency and people that are always giving, and what our intention is really. But if we get back to that place of balance within ourselves, we'll also know how to set boundaries, and boundaries help us balance. Like all these things feed each other. Boundaries and healthy boundaries help us keep balance in our lives, learning when to say no, learning, there's certain things that, these bugs are getting me. Ooh, I am not the buddy. I don't even feel anything. This isn't even real. It's all an illusion. Anyway, so we just have to be learning to say no and finding that balance within our lives, right? So knowing that maybe those things, the yoga, the working out, the meetings or therapy or whatever it was something that maybe even before in our lives we had to have to that degree, to that magnitude. But now, and we can keep it there unless it's stopping us from stepping into the other areas of our lives where we need to be pushing forward. So for me, I know it's writing, right? I'm dealing with that right now, is that I know that my purpose here on this planet is to be of service through my artistry, and I'm not writing, the record's coming out, I'm doing stuff, so I'm trying to take it easy with myself. Again, balance, knowing when to push myself and say, okay, we need to step forward a little bit, and when to say, hey, let's take it easy, you know? So balance has always been a really difficult thing for me. But again, it comes back to, you know, none of this stuff happens overnight. This is a lifelong journey. And when we have to understand, a friend of mine recently said that there's an old Buddhist tenet that says, any medicine that keeps you dependent upon the medicine is not a healthy medicine. So I've talked about that before. It's the same kind of thing of when we use a boat to cross the river and we get to the other side, we don't carry the boat with us, we leave the boat there, you know? And sometimes we have to find, because one of the hardest things to actually move past is the addiction to spiritual practice, is the addiction to the healthy things. This is pretty freaking esoteric, but into self-actualization or God realization is actually that the spiritual practice is one of the most addictive parts, right? So we have to find balance and non-attachment to everything, to this physical world. Somebody's calling me, and that's my audio. Pinche way. I wanted to share a little poetry of mine about balance, a little sonnet that I wrote. I was watching Shakespeare in Love, and again, it's trying to get me back to my writing, you know, and that accountability that I need in my writing. So it's just firing me up. So I wanted to share it about balance. It's, what repose do I thus find in the weary workings of the world, that all abandoned doth present itself, at times a wretched heathen, exalting wanton waste and lust, beguiling mine eyes and diamondizing naught but petty plans and aspirations of demonizing that which makes us whole. Wherefore doth the gross enchantment of the needs of man so belittle the glory of the unattained fury perched upon the precipice twixt utter selflessness and satiation cloaked in sweet relief? But as the working of my words doth come to close, it's balance, dear friend, as always, that is my foe. Yeah! Actually, I'm pretty good at balance. Whoa, getting there! Yeah! What? Too much?